what people say about, it has to do with, who you are ultimately.
So Barry, look, you have a brand business. What sort of person, mate, are you to enjoy this business where, often in marketing you can spend a lot of money and try a campaign and it kind of doesn't work at all. And then other times something just goes viral and it just works and you're not that whilst there's a formula, it also seems to be kind of a handful of darts at a board.
Yeah, it's like, I would say that what we do is like we try to go with results driven programs only.
It's counterintuitive though, isn't it? So many companies cut marketing when times are tough, right?
You should cut stupid marketing, right? But you should test things and find out what's working, give it long enough time to work.
Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of The Few. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you for a favor. If you've listened to the podcast before and you feel like it's made an impact or you've gained some insight that's helped you have a better day, that's helped you accelerate you to your destination to achieve your goals, whether your life journey's become a little bit easier thanks to the show, I just want you to subscribe quickly below. You can click now while you're listening to this. Even better is share the show. Tag The Few podcast on TikTok, Reels, Insta, you name it. Put it on LinkedIn. Let's help people achieve their dreams and organizations achieve the strategies, the destinations, the audacious goals that are going to make this world a better place. Thanks so much for all your support. Let's click subscribe and get on with the show. Today's guest, I'm very excited to talk to, is somebody who has an implicit understanding of branding, someone that understands how to unlock the full potential of a labor or HR resource, but also someone that knows a little bit about generating leads, generating business in today's highly congested digital world. Oh, by the way, does some pretty remarkable things as well for humanitarian reasons, and just all around good stuff that fills your heart. Let's make him welcome. No further ado. Barry, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you coming on today and making time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here.
So Barry, look, you have a brand business. You are all about brand. I assume that's something that you kind of started off very early on in your career and subsequently diversified. So let's just start there. I mean, Stampede Branding, that's just like an in-your-face brand name right there. What was it about getting into brand, be it personal or business, that kind of appealed to you? How did you start this journey?
Yeah, branding's fascinating as a subject. There's some great teachers out there on the subject, like Reese and Trout. If anybody's there, I don't know if anybody's read, The Battle for the Mind by Reese and Trout. Positioning and putting, marketing is, marketing's great. All the forms of marketing. My favorite marketing program is the one that works. So it's like whatever tool, is there you're going to use. It's good to have a good identity associated with it that means something to somebody, right? That has like a UPC or a position in relationship to those things. So we try to exemplify that ourselves, and then and we want our clients. Often they just need. They need leads, they need new clients, they need what they need, and we jump in on that. But we'd like to see them evolve into having a culture and a brand associated with it, so that it means something, not just something somebody bought something from. And I've just admired that in so many companies, and admired the concept for many, many years. And so that's what we wanted to be.
I once heard someone describe brand as what people say about you when you leave the room, and about your company. What does brand mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great definition. But what people say about, it has to do with, who you are ultimately, like who your values, what, how you communicate, your style, uh, what, what it is that you're offering to people, like what really makes you different. I think that's as well as like the logo and the colors and but those are on the end of the list for me. And then it's like those are the things that dictate the rest. And it also has to be something that's based on like research. I think people don't quite get the fact that they have to do some research to make sure that whatever it is that they're going to be saying about themselves really is what people need and want. Like you see that a lot in the movie industry today, where movies are being put out that are not what people need and want, and they're failing. And so the brands are being destroyed by corrupting their own image, by not having a set of standards that they can live by, and that they do live by, and they exemplify. They work. Not that they're going to be perfect, right? Because nobody's perfect, and no company's perfect. And we don't, people make mistakes. They have a bad day. They have a bad year, but you're working towards being something that you know was what you stand for, and it means something. And it's what other people want, by the way. And it's not just what you want, it's what other people want. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's probably even more important. It's not all about you. And it's interesting brand, isn't it? When you look at some of these YouTubers and individuals that have gone viral, almost without creating a brand, just having something or fitting a need in the market, and then retrospectively creating a brand out of that market access. What's changed in branding now that we've become so much more digitally enabled? Even what, 6 years ago, you put out a Facebook ad, you had some decent Google AdWords. You're probably doing okay in the digital market space. Now, fast forward through COVID and the digital adoption, there's not many businesses out there now that don't have some sort of digital presence. Has it changed, and is it harder now to establish a brand and establish that brand in the market?
There's a lot more noise, right? So you have to like somehow figure out a way to pierce through the noise, and good, and good research, good, data can help you to find out what your messaging should be, so you can actually get through. And then you've got to be effective at getting through with the right enough ammo pointed in the right direction. Um, but then the other thing is the speed. Now everything's happening makes your rise or your demise quicker, based on if you get the right stuff or you get the wrong stuff going on, right? So like empires, the speed at which an empire can topple, uh, we've seen in the marketplace in the last recently. And so yeah, so recently, the speed at which an empire or a brand can topple is amazing. If you go, because it's really about getting out there and reaching people and giving them what they need and want. The opposite of that would be reaching people with what they detest. So
Well, you make a good point, though. Traditionally, in the sphere of politics, there was some pretty clear branding around certain political parties, what they stood for, what they meant, and I guess now that everyone has their own voice, the collective voice is disappearing because your own voice is so powerful on social media, and the ability for individuals now to implode a brand must be kind of terrifying for enterprises that are very, you are very protective around the brand, the likes of Apple, Google, Coca-Cola, McDonald's. I mean, the risk to brands must be higher than it's ever been before.
yeah, and some are just dumb to it. They're just stupid with regards to it anyway. They don't care. Apparently, they don't care. But um, yeah, the risk is big, and individuals can put that things at risk. Like you said, with political branding, yeah, I mean, that's kind of shattering to some degree. Probably a good thing, because now we're finding out what people actually think and what their value is, and what their values, I should say, what their values are, and we find out. It's quicker for us to find out what Joe did, so we can say we don't like that, we don't want to support it, you know and so it's like meh, you know and the bigger you are, right, the harder you can fall. So like the more you are, the more you rise in those channels, uh but even on a lower level, people can get the word out pretty quick about who you are. The bad news spreads quicker, unfortunately, than the good news.
Well, people don't really have an appetite for good news. It's not really how humans work. I mean, we love we love the trolls. We love to get in there. We love to bring people down, because through that we elevate ourselves.
I like good news, but the good news I like is, what are we actually getting done? right? It's like I like good news. I have an appetite for it because I want to hear about accomplishments and wins and what we're doing. I mean, usually it has to do with some sort of adversity, so you're always hearing about that part too. But that's fine. That's a good story, you know. So it's I like all that, right? It's like it's anyway. It's interesting stuff. Branding is everything that we just talked about. I think for sure, you know.
So what are some tips for, because obviously some organizations make it from a small business to a medium business, and medium business make it to a large business, and all of a sudden their brand becomes synonymous with something. So I'm assuming now, with the amount of noise out there, to your point about finding your focus and then resourcing it and going hard, means that brands need to be more focused than perhaps they were before. Uh, but have you got any like good stories, or in your experience, an organization that did well in that emerging to middle layer, not just these big behemoths?
Yeah, there's great. I mean, there's great organizations out there. Like there's a local one that I've worked with, Postcard Mania, here in Clearwater, Florida. She basically started in her garage, you know, quite some many years ago, and she's got an incredible culture and brand. And I'd say one of the key components of her brand. I mean, she really cares about getting results for people, and that's one of her. She has a values, right? She actually has a code for her if you're on her team, um, or companies called Postcard Mania, so they call the team the Maniacs, right? And she's got a code of the Maniacs, right? And so it's a code that people follow, and it's expected. And one of the policies that she has in the company that you can actually be fired for is you don't talk, you don't whisper about somebody else to somebody else. You don't like spread rumors internally or talk behind the scenes about another, right? Because that destroys an organization. She recognized that early, so she makes sure that that stays out of it. So I'd say between the simplicity of it is she pushes the fact of results. She's interested in results. She knows that you must promote. Like her business did not falter, nor did it lay anyone off during COVID because she increased promotion. My business has never been damaged by economic upheaval since I've been since I've been a business owner since well before 2008, um, because we've promoted. We just kept promoting. We increased the promotion if things are tough because there's not we can't do anything about the economy. We can do something about you know what we're doing.
Intuitive though, isn't it? So many companies cut marketing when times are tough, right?
I mean, you should cut stupid marketing, right? But you should test things and find out what's working. Give it long enough time to work, and if it's not working, I mean, give it some. Sometimes you have to give it, 3, 4, 5 months to find out something's working, depending on what it is. But you just have to. You really can't cut your marketing budget. You just have to reallocate, because that's what's going to see you through at the end of the day. It'd be like, you know, yeah, dumb marketing. I mean, things that you're just wasting money on in marketing. Sure, cut those.
I feel like people who have made a career out of marketing are slightly broken, right? And I mean that in an endearing way, because when it comes to marketing, you are always throwing into a void, right? You seem to be constantly testing and adjusting. Working with a company that has an opinion of its brand, and then you start marketing what the company's opinion is. It doesn't work. Got to test and adjust. I mean, what sort of person, mate, are you to enjoy this business where, often in marketing you can spend a lot of money and try a campaign and it kind of doesn't work at all, and then other times something just goes viral and it just works, and you're not that whilst there's a formula, it also seems to be kind of, a handful of darts at a board.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I would say that what we do is like we try to go with results driven programs only. So like, and we don't, like I said, like when we started talking, my favorite marketing program is the one that works. And so it's like there are certain types of marketing to work well for certain industries. So we don't like urge somebody to spend in money in places where we know we're not going to get a result, because that's bad, right? And so we don't do that. So we're really focusing on, like, I mean, and I think there are like guys that I think there's a lot of different kinds of people that are attracted to marketing. Some just think it's like, I don't know, easy money. Some think it's. I mean, they were in real estate, and there was in 2008 the real estate market went up, so they decided to get into marketing instead. And there's the guys that really love to put together campaigns and craft those whole things. And then there's guys that just don't mind putting together a team that just beats the phone and does lead development of some sort or another. And that's all cool. So it's like, which one of those tools between postcards and pay per click and SEO and influencer marketing, which one's going to move the needle? And we basically like between my two companies, we can do any of it. In fact, I represent Postcard Mania too, in case my clients happen to need a postcard campaign. And so, we basically we go to give them the kind of campaign that works, right? And that's the kind of marketer I like to be, and that's what my partner's that way too, because you know, he's wasted a lot of money in marketing before he bought a marketing company, and then we partnered together. Uh, Literally, yeah, it's like there's one way to do it, and then he bought a company, studied the subject. He knew that if he mastered that and he could get enough leads, he could do anything, right? And it's true. It's a powerful subject. It attracts a lot of people of various types of character, right? And so, so yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, that's just the way it is. But it's fun. It's fun to get results for people, and it's fun to communicate and send a lot of communication out there into the ether. And it's fun to do it intelligently and see some great results roll back. You know.
So, you, if you're kind of tracking Gary Vaynerchuk and these kind of new age marketing gurus around content creation or your funnel fads, I mean, how do small businesses do it all? I mean, how do you create 15 content pieces a day and have 6 click funnel pages and have a sales and marketing team and an EDM campaign and social media lead forms? I mean, how do you just manage all of the things you need to do today to be an effective digital marketeer?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, delegate. Put somebody else in charge of stuff that you're not. Like for one, we've got two companies. We've got a marketing company and a virtual assistant agency, right? And the way that I mean, I came into marketing, by the way, because I was, my dad had multiple companies back when I was 20, which is like 36 years ago, right? When I was a teenager, which several years before that, even when I was a teenager, which is more years ago. And so he had multiple companies. And so I learned, he loved employing people, helping people to like, get out there and do their thing. And, um, and so, I got into marketing back then. And what I saw was he was really good at delegating and putting people in charge of different aspects of the operation, right? And so I ended up getting a couple sales careers after that, and then eventually got into nonprofit work. And I did nonprofit work for about 20 years. About halfway through that career, I started a second career and started my own business as a marketing company. But while I was in the nonprofit arena, I I would run. I was in charge of community outreach programs, organizing and running volunteers, and organizing and running large groups of personnel, and getting them to get a bunch of work done. And because yeah, and I didn't have anybody. I have very few people that work directly for me. But I had to put on huge events, and so I needed people. So I got people, right, and I put them to work, and I gave them things to do that were useful, and so so I've been either exposed to delegating or doing a lot of it for a long time. And uh, and I figured out that if I got sucked into it myself, and if I was doing the work, then I really wasn't running the organization anymore. Because the executive doesn't necessarily like he's not he's ideally. I mean, sometimes you have to do the work yourself. In many cases, there are many pieces I still do myself that I'm working to turn over, and I will turn those over to people. But some pieces take longer than others. But the thing is like you can't really grow a big organization if you're stuck in the machine. And there are different phases of that, right? You could be stuck 100% in the machine. You could be stuck 50% in the machine, which is a heck of a lot better, right? Or you could be stuck, whatever part of it, right? To some degree, if you're stuck in the machine, you can't really make it grow the way you would. But if you get good people that take responsibility for pieces of it, and they help you, and you monitor what those people are doing on a regular basis, and you can see that they're giving you output that is resulting in what you need them to do so the business thrives. Well, then you can grow big companies you want to. Like Postcard Mania is a great example. I mean, they've got. I'm going for having as many employees as she has. I'm not quite a third of the way there of the team that we have, but she has like 360 people. And between me and my partner's business, the teams that we've put together, we've got well over 100 people, right? And so we're going for that size of group, and we've got specialists that are really good at what they do, right? Whether it's the sales funnels or the pay per click, right, what have you. And so my marketing company kind of came out of the fact that I was into that community outreach aspect of things with the nonprofits. I really enjoyed bringing people in, right? Getting people to come in or contact an organization or reach in and say, "Hey, I want to find out more about what you're doing." I really love that type of work, and I love getting out there amongst people and working with people. So that's where the marketing company kind of came into be. I got fascinated with the subject in my nonprofit years, and then with working with my dad. And then I found out that, but I needed great people to do the work so that I could keep reaching out to people and introducing them to what we were doing. So we worked with a lot of freelancers. I mean, through the years we had payrolled employees as well, which is, taxes are no joke when you have a payroll employee, as well as all the other things that go along with it, right? All the legal hoops and whatever. So we started working with freelancers and working with freelancers. Today, freelancers pretty much exclusively is we've got teammates who are overseas, pretty much almost 100%. And we basically, so we have a marketing company and we have a virtual assistant company, and all of our personnel are remote, and they all work for us, and they're contracted to work with us, but they're their own people too. And we figured out how to run teams remotely, but we can delegate an incredible amount of work. I don't have anything that I do. I mean, I work at home, right? And I run a team of over. I mean, I work with a team of over 100 people from here, and I have my reports that come in, and I meet with them, and
Is that different to 5 years ago? Like what you were doing?
oh yeah, way different. I mean, 5 years ago, I was a very much smaller team, probably like less than about around 10 people, maybe, and maybe probably less than that. And I was still working here, right, on and in this space, but I hadn't quite figured out to the degree that I could delegate things, like and how I I knew these things, but I hadn't really put them into action. And we started putting together processes and exact procedures for things and how it was to be done. And then we started moving that work off onto other people for them to do.
But that's the secret, right? Like they're the I guess the uncelebrated champions of delegation and scale, the processes, the systems, the clearly defining what good looks like, what is an output. I mean, that's a big job, and it's a job that a lot of small businesses don't ever seem to commit to, and as a result, just because there's no systems, the leader and the owner just has to constantly step in to bat the ball down in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. I have a person who helps me with that. I mean, and she teaches the other staff how to do it as well. And she's in charge of processes and stuff. And so we put together these processes, which then our assistants, because like I said, I have two companies that are working with all the people remotely, evolved into a virtual assistant agency. So I have a virtual assistant agency that now I do that same thing for small businesses. And so we teach those assistants how to write up those processes as well, so that when we give them a client, they can now write up the processes associated with the work that they're doing, and they can help the client to start to figure out how to outsource more. And now they can get another assistant who can now take on some work, and another assistant. We have people that have four or more assistants with us, uh, just just basically because they just started putting together these processes, and we gave them great people. We dived deep into the hiring piece to make sure we're getting really high quality people, and doing testing and everything there was to do to make sure that that piece was covered. And then yeah, then rock and roll and give 'em, get that thing going. Yeah.
So delegation, obviously important. If you're a small business, you want to scale up your branding. What are two or three other really critical mindset pieces you need to be able to embark on a really robust branding strategy?
I'd say basically, it's a good question. So the other thing is, like, well, I mean, branding really doesn't matter much if you don't have any customers. So regardless, you can't be so fixated on branding that you forget that you have to do effective marketing, right? So that'd be a piece of it. Delegating to those virtual assistants would be, or those people, getting the work off of your plate would be a big deal. Um, yeah, I think that all the character and the values of your brand is a huge deal. Um, Making sure that you have like a code that your people live by, that we have our own character education. One of the nonprofits I'm associated with is deals with character education. Um, and So we teach that training, that character education training is part of my business. Because, I mean, although I hire good people to begin with, people that want to be good to others in life, I go ahead and teach them the character education anyway, which helps uplift them. And we've got a better environment, people that care about each other and that care about the clients, right? And that I'd say that, I mean, I think that monitoring the actual results is part of it, because you can get carried away with branding too. If you're not monitoring results and making sure that there's a return on your investment, that you're actually moving the needle every day in the right direction, that's part of it as well. And then I'd say yeah, and then staying in touch, staying in good communication with your clients. I mean, let the virtual assistant agency, we work to, if your client's willing, we'll meet with them every single week to make sure things are going in the right direction. So staying in communication with yeah, you mentioned YouTube earlier, and I mentioned research. The YouTubers out there in the world that do a really good job, they read the chat, right? And I heard a YouTuber the other day say that the chat's always right. And and I think it's true. It's true because uh, yeah, that chat is research. It's basically you're finding out what people need and want, so that you can actually do it and give it to them. And I think that's huge. Yeah, there's no substitute for it. So yeah.
So if that's the good stuff to do in marketing, what does bad look like? What have you seen in your extensive career where you've walked into an organization, they've either not listened, maybe, or there's nothing there, or maybe even where people have spent a lot of money on marketing, but the result has just been virtually non-existent.
Yeah, well, stupid names are really good. They're probably the very first thing you notice, like a stupid name for a company, right? Probably one of the. Unless you can prove me wrong, unless you've got a lot of money, and you plan, and you really have the money to make it really really big, using initials in for your name is pretty dumb, right? Because who's going to remember that? So I think it starts with the name. That's really bad marketing for one. I would say that really not I've seen ads on YouTube that don't really sell anything, right? That basically are just like, I don't know what they're supposed to do. They basically like they're basically like communicating, I don't know, some sort of artsy thing that doesn't really sell anything. I don't even know what they were trying to sell, so that's horrible. Um, Another piece of bad branding would be walking into a place and it basically it's not awesome, as far as impeccable, having a good space or having unfriendly people, right? Or bad service or a lousy product or arguing with customers. Or, I mean, I was in a coffee shop the other day and, marketing is a big word, right? Branding is a piece of it, but marketing is bigger than branding. Branding kind of goes in marketing. Um, but marketing includes the delivery of the product to the potential consumer, right? That's part of the delivery channel, right? And I was at a coffee shop. The delivery channel is like the barista, right? The barista is the delivery channel. So, I mean, there was one guy in line that was made to wait so long unnecessarily. He left, and so I talked to them about what they could have done differently. I was just like, it's just just because, and I in a nice way. Yeah, I knew the owner. I probably talked to him eventually about it. I mentioned it to him, but uh, I went in, and so they just weren't thinking, So hopefully, I made them think a little bit, maybe, hopefully. But those are some of the pieces that, yeah, and then if you got something that works, not doing it, that's bad marketing and bad branding. If sitting around and blaming the economy is bad branding or inflation. Being a victim of COVID is bad marketing. Not saying that, oh, COVID, it was COVID, right? I mean, so there's so many examples. We could have a whole podcast just on that.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying these episodes of The Few. If you are, if you feel like they're making an impact, you've learned something insightful, there's a little golden nugget of wisdom that you've been able to apply to your own life, let's share it with as many people as possible. The best way to do that is to leave a review. If you leave a review, we get more listeners on the show. If we have more listeners, we get bigger guests, and it's the big guests that live the big dreams where we're going to learn the most. And my job is to ask the questions that are going to help you on your own journey. So let's make this show as big as we possibly can. I'm fully committed, I'm passionate, and I'd love for you to show your support by leaving a quick review. Well, it's interesting because, in terms of what to invest in marketing, it seems to be, we were talking just before the podcast, and recently I was just did a CEO's forum, and in the room they were asking what are the number one problems everyone has, and there were really two: is finding the right people to look after sales and conversion, and the other one was how to market in a digitally saturated world and where to spend your money. Like people have marketing budget, but they're putting big budgets into Google and only getting 1 or 2 clicks a month. They're putting their money into their social media campaigns, but it's just thousands of dollars in a drain and nothing comes up. So there seems to be this fear of the digital space. Is the cards are stacked, and it's a little bit like going to the casino and the fruit machine, and you're putting your money in there, and the Liberty Bell's just not ringing. So what are the mistakes people make around advertising then, and around putting budget into those direct kind of leads or into being discovered on any of those channels?
Well, I mean, first off, if you're spending money on pay-per-click advertising, and you're not getting results, it's either you're using the wrong channel or the wrong company that's doing it for you. Because it can work. People do make it work. You just need to work with somebody who's going to give you realistic expectations, who's going to tell you exactly what it's going to take, and then based on that information, you sign up and you will get a result, right? Like we basically guarantee results with pay-per-click advertising. And because we just won't tolerate, we just don't like to lose. My partner doesn't like to lose at all. Like on an individual customer basis, he doesn't want law. He wants you to make 2 to 1 on the dollars that you're spending on your digital marketing minimally, right? Um, so with digital marketing, that's the thing, right? So it's either the wrong channel or you know, the wrong company that's doing it for you, the wrong person, so change that, on things like SEO and social media, if done right, they are fantastic, and they can get just as much traffic for your company as as pay per click, but they do take longer. They take It's a 6 month to 12-month campaign. Anybody that tells you anything any different is just really selling you, something silly, right? That you shouldn't be buying. So it just takes that long, but you can get the results that you're the same kind of results that you should be getting right away with pay per click advertising. So, uh, yeah, I mean, those are two things from what you asked for, asked about is like that you should be aware of. Some companies, I mean, pay per click's not the right thing, or SEO is not necessarily, they don't have the budget to reach out and make it happen. Um, through those channels, and as they might need to get somebody who's just an appointment setter for them, who puts people in front of them every week, and they need to sharpen up their sales process. And we do that for people too. So I mean, it's like, I meet a lot of people every week because I have several appointment setters that work for me personally, and I actually like meeting people and talking to them and finding out how I can help their business. So I do a lot of one-on-one meetings every week.
Is that a good investment for an organization, or are setters and closers something that people should invest in, or again, depend on your business?
It depends on your business because, like I said, like the thing I said, the best marketing program is the one that works, right? And it's like, I mean, there's another saying in marketing: "What I say three times is true." So the best marketing system is the one that works. So now I said at least three times, right? Uh, so, but so hopefully everybody will remember. But it's like, so it depends. It depends. There are certain businesses that would be the best thing for them. There are other businesses where we should do pay per click, because we can drive traffic to a, if you're willing to invest in a sales funnel and or the landing pages and such.
Is that based on your kind of product stack? I mean, is a pay per click a more kind of low ticket price, low sort of productized type of market, and appointment setters high ticket price, more complex sales? Is that a rough way how you would stack that?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you can also go into Google and you can actually see if there's searches for what the person's selling. Are people searching for what you're selling? Is one example. So if they're searching and they're there looking for what you're selling, then yeah, it's a good place to be. So now you just need a good landing page, a good offer, and a good ad campaign. And we just drive to start, just shooting traffic that way. We can take advantage of Google both in the SEO way and a pay-per-click way. Facebook is more for lifestyle related brands, and that's a very general statement. So I'd want to talk to people like, maybe coaching stuff, or you can sell business stuff in there. A lot of business stuff can be sold in Facebook for sure, but it's a different environment, and so it's a lot. Yeah, the leads are better from the quality of the individual leads are better from Google, but they're more plentiful from Facebook. So then you have to think with, okay, well, I don't want to meet with all those people. so so yeah, because that's too many people. So rather, I'm going to have a sales funnel in place that's gonna we're going to use that type of thing that's going to actually separate the wheat from the you know and what have you. And so whereas like there are many people who are looking to talk to a particular person within an organization, and that person is active on LinkedIn, and so LinkedIn's a great channel, in that case. So I mean, it's just really, there's other people like roofers that really they want to develop bird dog as well as having social media activity. We just do social media and SEO for a roofer, and I've got a roofer that made like 100K just off a very small social media SEO program this year. That's what he made, right? And he just got a huge job from SEO and the other and the social media campaign that we're doing for him.
But this is also where digital's a lot smarter than it used to be too, right? Like it's very geocentric now as well, isn't it? So if you're a business and you serve a small area, yeah, you've got your mail outs and your postcode related marketing campaigns, but you can pretty much achieve the same with geo marketing, right? In terms of appearing on a device in the right place for that type of service. Because being a roofer is a pretty competitive market, right? There's lots of roofers, there's lots of plumbers, there's lots of trades. But if you're the smart one in the room, and you engineer your digital marketing appropriately, and it it's uh, SEO and Google's a little bit like a video going viral, right? The more traffic your website gets, the more people start interacting. But by its nature, it becomes organically more obvious as well, right? You get a better profile, you get reviews, the referral network kicks in, and all of a sudden you're on your way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. I Yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, I would say that basically those geofencing is a big deal, right? Where you know, and that's totally something you use. There's so many tools. It's kind of wild, isn't it? There's like, yeah, I mean, I could sit here and list off all the different tools. I mean, we do influencer marketing, we do social media, we do TikTok, we do TikTok ads. We got okay, good. So, which is going to be the right one for you? Like, well, I have one person that really gets a lot of referrals from insurance agents. So he's got a telemarketing program. And we call insurance agents for him. And we set up personal appointments where he goes and visits the insurance agent. And so, and he loves that, and he gets so much business off of that, so it's really about finding out what's going to get a result for that guy. Whereas a restaurant, has a whole different set of needs. Now you're into geotagging, and if you're in an area, which I live in Clearwater, Florida, which gets a lot of holiday traffic. Wow, if you're a restaurant in downtown Clearwater and you're pinging people that just drove into the area, yeah, that's great. If you've got a great marketing person and they're all over it, where you start showing up in the feed of those guys that are now staying in your area, so they start seeing your ads. That's perfect.
I guess one of the other elements within marketing and lead gen is your CRM system and your direct mailing. Is that something that is a little bit 2020, or are people still kind of reading emails and the nurture campaigns on emails? I mean, I unsubscribed from so many uh, mail lists. It's because every time you sign up for a card or every time you buy something, you got to give your email out, and then everyone bugs you. It's almost like that's become the equivalent of the junk mail in the letterbox. Or is EDM and direct marketing through email still an effective channel?
Everything you said is very true about, and at the same time, uh, email has one of the largest ROIs, return on investments, of any marketing tool. So setting up like a, email automation and newsletter campaigns and such as that. I mean, we do those, and we do those for the clients that are really serious, that want to set up a funnel, want to set up big conversion strategies, or into e-commerce or what have you. Um, those work, and as I understand, everything you said is true. And some people hate it. In fact, I know people that won't do it even though it would work well for them because they hate it so much.
Yeah, that's insightful, and of course, I guess that's the challenge. Every time a new digital channel opens up, for Instagram now it's Threads and it's Reels, and now YouTube has Reels, and everyone jumps on a bandwagon, and then that bandwagon gets distributed more and more widely. I guess what is good though is, one content piece can now travel across multiple channels. So creating the content is one piece of content goes a lot further than maybe creating a lot of content for the one channel.
Yeah, that's true. Content marketing is, yeah, I mean, yeah, you create content for, TikTok obviously can be used on every other, most other channels can be converted easily into those other ones. And you can get somebody to post it out there, and you can post it on your Google business page as well. And that contributes to your SEO, and you can put together articles that you can go post on, different articles that you post one on each of the 50 different websites, and that builds your SEO at the same time. And content's powerful. It really is. I mean, uh, yeah, it's amazing. It's a lot of fun too. I mean, there's Gary Vaynerchuk's a great resource for people too. If nobody's read Jab Jab Right Hook, that's a great book by Gary Vaynerchuk. Highly recommend reading his stuff. He's totally worth it. And to what you said before, he also said something is that marketers ruin everything. So when a new tool comes out, they basically beat it to death until it's dead, just about at least. But then it comes back, right? Like now, there's not as much junk mail as there used to be in my box.
And the platforms govern it as well, right? So they're making sure that if you're not spamming people, and you get punished pretty early on. And it's funny, now Facebook comes back into vogue as a relatively cheap platform to advertise off, because everyone's disappeared down into TikTok and LinkedIn ads. And
Yeah, yeah. Direct mail is now a place you could spend some money, with some good results, and people do, and so so marketing. I mean, people like jump on the bandwagon, but then a smart marketer says, okay, well, let me see when this tool is actually going to be useful and for who, right? And one of the pieces of advice I've given to people too is uh, reaching out to people that are exactly in your same industry, and surveying them for what they're doing that's working. Because if you could get a list of those things that they're actually getting tangible results from, if you took the time to survey like 10 people, like if you're a pest control guy, and I mean, if I had that business, I would uh, I would put somebody really nice on the phone and have them, me and them would do like a bunch of research calls, about 25 of them, to find out what's working and with non-competing people in other markets. And I would just find out all sorts of stuff about what's working in my industry, and start doing it, right? Because yeah, you already know what the best marketing program is. I don't have to say that again.
full time, that's junk mail, mate. Um, so, with a view to winding this up, and I could talk, this is fascinating for me. I'm loving it. Uh, if you're to look back on the start of your marketing journey, Barry, and you know everything you know now, what would you say to yourself to accelerate your journey with a do-over? To be, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much we can learn. What would jumpstart you if you went back to the start of that journey with everything you know now?
I'd say that piece of advice that I just gave, like, do the things that are working out there in the world, not some bright idea, right? Because, like, unless you have, just sending out communication, putting up billboards, running ads in newspapers, whatever, that got me going back to when I was 18, but that's what we did back then. And I mean, we used to run sometimes, with some of the things I did through the years for nonprofits, we ran classified ads, right? But we did that. It's funny, the contrast of those two things. The billboards, we really didn't have any examples of that working for anybody else that was in our industry as an effective method to get clients. uh, the newspaper ads, sometimes, yes, but when I was in nonprofits, we had some great examples from some other nonprofits of how they utilized classified ads, and then we went crazy with it, right? And we got a lot of good results with it, because the difference being, we found something that worked, that had a track record, that and that was money well spent. And so that's probably, and I'd say, and then when you find that thing that's working well, double down.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's, again, sometimes people take the pedal off the metal then, because they're like, oh, it's working now. I'm making some money. I can save a bit of money on my marketing, and then you go back into the, that I call it, I call it the sine wave of marketing. It's, oh, I need to spend. I've got no business. I need to spend money on marketing, and all of us, oh, look at this, all this business is coming in. I don't need to spend any money on marketing, um, and you just get caught in that cycle, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, and the only thing you can do wrong as far as growth goes is not organized to deal with it. And then, I mean, that's the one, you have to organize enough to deal with it. That's where the virtual assistants come in with my virtual assistant company. And then, and then you have to, whatever you were doing that was working, you have to organize up in such a way that that it doesn't fall out or drop out. that you actually do more of it while servicing all those customers that came in. Because the minute, you're busy, like you said, you're busy like promote to get some clients in. You got some clients, and then you're like, oh, I got to service the clients, right? But now the promotion doesn't happen, and so your sales sink again. And okay, that doesn't work at all. None of that works. So what you have to do, and that's the first way that I one of the great things I've done with my own marketing that grew my business is I used to do a lot of the outreach myself to set my own appointments to meet new people, right? And I would do that outreach myself. I was good at it, right? And I meet people, and I'm really good at it. So I took that process and I trained other people how to do it for me. So now I talk to a lot more people. I have time because I don't do that outreach myself. So I have time to talk to a lot more people. But I have a few people that do that for me. And their job is just to schedule me to meet with cool people that I'm going to chat with. And I'll either make a friend, or I'll get a new client, or who knows, maybe even a business partner.
Yeah, but it's just better quality use of your time, right? Someone told me once that the first employee you should ever put on is a cleaner of your house, because that's the cheapest labor that's going to free up your time to someone to mow the lawn, do the pool, do everything. Uh, and that's going to give you, and it's a good point. And I think VAs and the fact that the standard of VAs is improved dramatically, and the education is improved dramatically, is such a game changer, and provides leverage that wasn't there before. And I think, oh look, I mean, Barry, mate, that was such an insightful conversation. I really appreciated that. I wouldn't mind actually getting another podcast with you uh, later on to go into a deeper dive more on brand and marketing. Uh, but hey, thanks for being very generous with your time today, and for being so informative. I mean, that was some really great advice. If you want to talk to Barry, stampedemarketing.com, that is going to be down in the show notes, as well as his team building agency. That's team building, as in you're building your team, not coming in and doing amazing race with you. Having seen these kind of models before, the value, Barry, in what you're doing is you've got the high end strategic mindset as well as the execution, because an idea is really nothing without the engine to execute and get it done. There's no doubt you've nailed that completely. So thanks again for coming on the show, Barry. Look forward to hopefully speak to you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's stampedebranding.com. And if there's somebody who wants to write and talk to me directly, they can just shoot me an email, Barry, Barry, at stampedebranding.com. I love to meet new people and chat with them. So yeah, I'm here if you need me.
Awesome. And you can listen to Barry on the podcast or on our YouTube channel. And again, scroll down, you'll find all his contact details in the show notes. Thanks again, Barry. I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps another episode of The Few. But before we go, I'd like to make a shout out to the team that make this podcast possible. The team at Afterburner, real fighter pilots who travel the world helping organizations close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. It's the fighter pilot mindset, the methodologies, the ways of working, or what Afterburner call flawless execution. It's the techniques and trade secrets the Air Force uses to turn the dream of becoming a fighter pilot into a reality. Whether you have a leadership offsite, leadership retreat, maybe it's the annual event for your entire organization, or a sales kickoff. From 2 people to 2,000, Afterburner inspires people to believe that we can lift our performance to another level. So reach out and learn the secrets fighter pilots use to win 98% of the time.